Good afternoon, Democrats. It's 4:15, and that means it's time for the Chairs Daily Live. I so appreciate having the chance to visit with you all this week while our chair, Alicia Andrews, has been traveling. She'll be back with you next week, and I know that she's going to be jealous, particularly of yesterday's show and today's, because yesterday I had the opportunity to speak with Representative Maury Turner, which was a great discussion on putting the death penalty to a state question, which would determine everyone in the state's say in whether or not we continue with this torturous, inhumane way of killing people or we don't. And today's guest is also someone that I'm really excited to have on. Earlier in the promotional piece that we did, we said this is going to be a wrap up of this week's news. And I had the good fortune of being able to snag a bit of time from a man who I greatly admire, and I'm pleased to welcome him to the Chairs Daily Live. Pastor Derek Scobie is with us this afternoon. Pastor Scobie, welcome. I'm so glad you could join me.
Well, thank you so much for having me this afternoon, Scott. I'm certainly excited to be here.
Well, we fortunately travel in many of the same circles, and we get to see each other at rallies and marches and things, but it's nice to just have a chance to visit with you a little bit. And today, especially because you have a very interesting op-ed piece in the Daily Oklahoman. And I'd like for just to start right there, if we could, Pastor Scobie, and talk about why it is that you decided not to attend the Governor's Unite Our City Day.
Well, Scott, I would love to say it was because of this deep conviction that I had from the jump to do this. But the reality is this, after about the seventh, that's conservatively, but maybe the eighth invitation via text, phone call, email, and I think even through Facebook, I just was like, I mean, I had already made the decision with the first invite that I was not going to attend. But I'm a fair man, Scott, and I had to really ask myself the pertinent question of, Derek, why? Why are you not going? You're an advocate for unity. You love diversity. Why are you not going? But I already knew I wasn't going, but I had to kind of talk to myself about that. They say it's okay to talk to yourself but not answer yourself. Well, I was actually doing both. And then certainly I'm a man of faith. So I began to pray about it. And I just wanted to see if the Lord was going to move me in a different direction, but he didn't. And I had an overwhelming peace not to go. But then as I continued to get these invitations, and they were very intentional invitations. They were not just autoresponder invitations. I just thought, you know what? I'm not going, and I need to communicate my why. Because, Scott, and I mean this in a very, very, very humble way. This is not some pseudo humility. I mean it in the most spirited way of humility. I'm nobody. I'm nobody. However, I know that it would have been a very small elephant in the room of, why isn't Pastor Scobie here? So I thought, you know what? Let me communicate my why. So there you go.
But you know, and I appreciate the conundrum, the personal one, because much of what you do is about bringing people together, and that's that's at the center of my job and my life, as a matter of fact. And so here you had an opportunity to come together in unity, but you said, wait a minute, I'm not going to do this. And here's the reason why. Mm-hmm. And the reason is because this is, while it's a good sounding thing, an occasion, a day.
Yeah.
We've got to look at the players here. Mm-hmm. And if, for one thing, Governor Stitt is absolutely not a unifier.
No.
He has continued throughout his hopefully one term in office
Yes.
to divide us. Was so quick to pounce on signing the bill that made it legal to run over protesters.
Mm-hmm.
Very vocal about that, and the way that he has treated our Native American tribes is unconscionable. And so, how does he think this is going to help bring people together if he's in charge of it?
Well, and I would, to be fair, on his behalf, I don't necessarily feel like that he's in charge of it, Scott. But certainly the way that they're playing it is that he and First Lady Stitt, that they are really in essence leading out in this effort. That's how the Unite My City continues to, push this, is that, we're going to hear from Governor Stitt. We're going to hear from Governor Stitt to talk about ways that we can unite our state. And it was so much communication about that. And I watched like a 3-minute video of a pastor, I think he's in Tulsa, that leads this effort out, this Unite My City. And the guy sounds like a super nice guy, Scott. And I believe he is. I really do. But I just don't know if he's aware of how fractured the relationship is between Governor Stitt and people of color in the state of Oklahoma. I just don't think that he's aware of that. So to me, when I looked at it, I thought, well, one, this is counterproductive and it's counterintuitive. Like if you're trying to go for unity, that's not the person that you go to. Now, here's the thing. Now, I know I had a very, very good friend. They said, Pastor, now, are you ready for the backlash with this? Are you prepared? And I said, well, yeah, I'm prepared. And I said, but the thing is, someone has to speak up and speak out. And there are sacrifices that have to be made. And I understand that. I know I've made a sacrifice by the way that I've laid the gauntlet down, but this is a factual gauntlet. This is not, it's only about 4% of what I said that's really my opinion, but the other is just fact.
Right.
And my opinion, it was, one of the pieces of opinion was, most people in the state and probably around the world, they believe that Governor Stitt was cruel to wait until the morning of the scheduled execution of Julius Jones to grant commutation without the possibility of parole. They say it was cruel. Some even have used the word savage. And I say in this op-ed, I have a dissenting opinion. I don't believe he was being cruel, Scott. Not at all. I believe that that Thursday morning, 6 hours before Julius was scheduled to be executed, is when he changed his mind. I believe that before then, that's just my opinion, but I believe before then that he was going to allow for that execution to take place without a word from the governor's office. That's what I believe. So I don't think he was being cruel. I'm glad he changed his mind. But as I said in that column, that he still only got it half right. No ifs and buts about it. But as it relates to unity, again, as my grandmother said as I closed the column out, I can't hear what you're saying for as it relates to unity for watching what you're doing.
Yeah.
I just can't hear what you're saying for watching what you're doing. Listen, he reserves the right to do whatever he wants to do. He can do whatever he wants to do. But I reserve the right to call it out at a high level. All of those things that I put in there, that's all public. It's public knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know how many times all of those things have been put in some type of writing, some type of column where everything is together. Now, there was a fifth one. But the editor asked me, she said, as I fact checked this, how can you prove this? I said, well, no big deal. I'll take it out. Let me tell you what the fifth one was.
Please.
The fifth one was prior to him becoming governor of Oklahoma, he didn't know any of our Oklahoma Black heroes. That means something to us as let me say it the way I want to. I know I said in the column African Americans, but let me say it the way I want to. Black folks. Mm-hmm. As Black folks, that means something to us. We want you to know about the mother of the Oklahoma Civil Rights Movement, Clara Luper. We want you to know about Dr. John A. Reed Jr., the 59-year pastor of the Fairview Baptist Church. We want you to know about Pastor Tisdale that was in your own backyard in Tulsa. We want you to know about Dr. W.K. Jackson. We want you to know, we want you to even know about, we understand it's a different political party, but we want you to know about Russell Perry. How do you not know about Russell Perry? So that was a problem for me. Mm-hmm. It was a problem for me. And he sat down with someone who I trust with my life. And they asked him, do you know Clara Luper? Do you know Russell Perry? Do you know Pastor Tisdale? And he didn't know him. So that's an issue. That's a concern. You don't even understand our culture.
You cannot be the governor of all people if you don't know all people in your state. I mean, right. Cultural, I'm not even going to call it competency. Let's just call it cultural sensitivity.
Sensitivity.
And we'll let him off with that. But if you don't even have enough cultural sensitivity to inquire, enough intellectual curiosity to wonder about some of the incredible Black history in Oklahoma.
Incredible Black history.
It certainly is. I mean, when I think about the accomplishments of so many of my friends and people that are long gone, but I would love to sit down and have a cup of coffee with, just to glean from them a few minutes from their wisdom. Yes. But to have no intellectual curiosity like that. This is also the same man that had never voted before he voted for himself for governor. Never once had he voted for governor.
Well,
so
and Scott, the concern, also as the way he's treated our Native American brothers and sisters. Again, we as Black folks, probably most all of us have some Native blood coursing through our veins. And so we have a natural love and affinity toward our Native American brothers and sisters. We understand their plight. We can feel their plight. And then to put Dr. King's words, because Dr. Bernice King, the daughter of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., really in essence said, I don't understand why you have my daddy's name in your mouth. That's in essence what she said. So, that was a concern. The way everything went with Julius Jones, all that was concerned. So here's probably the elephant in the room, in this space for most. They would say, anyone who knows me and they've known me over a period of a few years or more, they would say, this is what they would say, Scott. Well, that was your buddy. That's what they would say. They say, that's your friend.
But yeah, let's talk about that, because you all do have a history.
Yeah. And you know what? I put this in the story. I closed it out, but I had to condense it, edit it, and bring the words down. So I took this out. And I know many people won't like me for saying this. Here's the reality. Now I closed it with I love him in the Lord, but it's in some ways, Scott, I like him. I don't look at him as my enemy in any way, shape, or form. I don't like hardly any of his policies at all. And there are a lot of ways that I don't like. But here's the thing: he has been to Ebenezer at least twice. So last year, January 26th or 7th, almost a year to date, we had the first large vaccination pod here on the northeast side of Oklahoma City. We vaccinated 1,114 people. 85% of them were African Americans. Around the state, quoted by Governor Stitt, that prior to that, only 2 to 3% you would see African Americans in these pods. So it was a positive thing. So it was a huge press conference here at the church, and we had people. It was cold that day, coming in and out. He spent a good amount of time here, but a month and a half before that, we had a huge giveaway here at the church with about 5,000 boxes of food and furniture and things of that nature. And anybody that's quote unquote anybody, they were here. And that's all the way from the King, Barry Switzer, and then Governor Stitt, Stephanie Bice, Jason Lowe, Councilwoman Nikki Nice, Anastasia, and AJ Pittman. The list goes on and on. Representative Kevin Cox. Everyone came to serve. Now we understand some came for photo ops. I don't even want to get into that. But I was serving, and a lot of others were. Mayor Holt was here. Well, he spent a lot of time here that day. He and about 30 of his, I'm not going to call them cabinet, I don't know what, but staff, about 30 of them. So, it was good, really good relationship. But I like to try to bring people together. Mm-hmm. I'm a unifier. That's just how I'm wired. So anyone to say, well, that was your buddy. I mean, there's been several videos where Governor Stitt said, my friend, Pastor Derek Scobie. I mean, we've never broken bread or anything together, but I still had to stand up for right. He made those decisions. So obviously he's proud of them. I mean, would that be a fair assessment?
I absolutely think so, because the way he crows when he signs in a piece of legislation that's harmful. Yeah, that makes him proud.
So, okay, it seems that he's proud of them. So I just simply put all of those together, communicated it, and then said, this is why, as a Black people, that we can't get behind this unification, because it's kind of like proverbially, every time we come around, we're getting kicked in our gut. Mm-hmm. So after a while, keep getting kicked in your gut. Again, for someone that would say, but you are our buddies. Yeah, but over the last 9 months, we just keep getting kicked in the gut. And listen, what affects, and when I say my people, it's the Lord, it's God's people, everybody in Oklahoma. What affects God's people? What affects the people in my community? It affects me.
Of course
it may not affect me in the same way, but it affects me. And if the Lord has given me a voice, if I want to be a good steward, Scott, of this voice that he's given me, I can't play two sides against the middle. I'm going to call it like it is.
And I'll tell you, you started this by talking about, you knew that there would be repercussions.
Yeah.
And you knew that you would get pushback from people. Yeah. And I'll tell you, the honest truth is, it would have been easy for you just to go, to sit there, to be present, and then to leave. But I'm grateful for your convictions that said, no, just because you're calling it this doesn't make it so. You can, it's not the same. And so I appreciate that. And I'll tell you something. I think that your congregation, and I know people in my office today, after we read your op-ed, people were like, yes, this is what we need to be saying. This is what people need to be doing. And so I applaud the effort. I really do. And you mentioned that you all have been friendly, and I have folks that I'm friendly with, but doesn't mean I would ever support them in a political position.
No. And if he ever wanted, if he wanted to call me and talk to me or say, hey, I want to have lunch or something, I don't have a problem with that. I'm not mad at him. I just had to call it like it is. And so, but with that, because those policies and those bills, they're not conducive for us as people of color. And I would hope, as I said in there, using the words of Dr. King, I would hope that my moderate white brothers and sisters and liberal white brothers and sisters, and I would hope even some conservative ones would look at that and say, that's not right. And I hope they I hope they would look at what they have seen in my life. I was gone. I was in Texas for 20 years, but I've been back here 6.5 years. I would hope that people could visually see. I'm not just bumping my gums talking. I'm serving at a very high level. So I'm not talking about it. I would think that I'm being about it. And I would venture to say it would be hard for anybody to question that.
Yeah.
And I'm all about unity. I love it. I love, let me kind of say it the way I want you, Scott. I love to see, because this is typically the cultures where the clash is, really. I love to see black and white folks together. I love it. Now, I love to see all other ethnic groups as well, but I love to see that. I love to see Democrats and Republicans being able to converse together and have a conversation. You know, I love that, but I can't get behind that. All of that, I can't get behind it. So with that, we have to look. We love him. We want the best for his life, but he doesn't need to be our governor. It's just the reality of that. So we have to figure out if we can get people of color to really get out, get registered to vote, and get out and vote, and then we can get obviously all other ethnic groups out to vote. We can make a change. And here's now this is for me. For me, I've had probably so far, I've met with Joy Hoffmeister and Bridget Zorn, her campaign manager, here at Ebenezer for about 3 hours. Actually, it was myself, Jess Eddy, JB, and Reverend CC Jones Davis. They were both on via Zoom. Rico, who's running for Senate District 48 here in Northeast Oklahoma City, and Cam Cox. We sat here in the church 3 hours and talked to Joy. What I have heard from Joy, I love it, to the point I put my money where my mouth is. And with that, we've had other conversations with Joy. We're going to have some other conversations, matter of fact, with Mama Jones and Antoinette Jones, Sister Madeline Jones, Antoinette, sister and mother to Julius. We're going to sit down with Joy. But the things that I'm hearing from Joy, to me, that's our only hope to possibly defeat Stitt. Listen, I love our other candidate. I love her, have the highest respect for her. But the only way we're going to possibly get Stitt out of office next year, is Joy. And that's just it.
I appreciate you saying that. Of course, the party can't endorse one candidate or another over another before the primary. But I appreciate you sharing your perspective. And we're really running long, and I apologize for taking so much of your time, but I feel like we could go on for a couple of hours here. But I want to underscore something you said, and that is, if we can get people to turn out to vote. Do you know, along the parade route on the MLK parade a couple of weeks ago, mm-hmm. I was stunned at all of the people cheering and waving and yelling in support of Democrats. Yeah. And by the time we got to the end, I thought, wow, if every one of you folks who were here cheering was registered to vote and voted, we couldn't lose an election in Oklahoma City.
That's right.
This is a plea that will not go away. I'm begging all good folks to get other people registered to vote.
That's it. Scott, I know we're running long, but I must say this. I've had a lot of friends that they've reached out about the column, and it's like this cheering your own. Okay, that's all great. When I was arrested in front of the governor's mansion the night before Julius was scheduled to be executed, I was the only one arrested. I have 2 charges. I have two misdemeanor charges that carry one of them carries jail time. But I have the best attorney in the state of Oklahoma in person of Joe White. But with that, I'm going to have to go through all of this. It's going to cost me money, time, all of that. But listen, I believed in that I had to do something the night before Julius was scheduled to be executed. I had to do something. I didn't know exactly what, but I had to do something, and I did it. I went with my conviction, and I went into the county jail. That's a story for another day. I was only there 46 minutes. Praise the Lord for that. And then with this op-ed, I went up with my convictions. Scott, we're not asking people to do that. We're not asking people that you got to go get arrested. We're not saying, hey, you got to write a column and then you're on your job and run the risk of, dealing with the backlash from your employer and all that. We're not asking them to do that. We're simply asking you to get registered. And don't just get registered. Go out and vote. Quit talking. And listen, I don't want not now another person giving me not 1 ounce of kudos about nothing. If you won't just go out and get registered and then vote.
Yeah.
Vote your convictions. If you're happy with all of this that we've dealt with over the last 3 years, but primarily over the last 9 months, if you're happy with that, more power to you. Look, I'm gonna say it the way my mother would say it. If you like it, I love it, but I ain't gonna vote with you.
There you go.
But we know a change has to be made, and we can make it. Scott, they need to understand we can win. We can win. We can. I think some people think, oh, we can't. No, we can. If we would just simply get registered and vote.
That's it. That's it. And you're going to be hearing that from me pretty much every day between now and November, because that's the pony I'm riding on.
And to give people more confidence, we can win it just as Democrats. But listen, there are going to be many a Republican that's going to vote Democrat.
I'm counting on that too.
Yeah.
Pastor Scobie, this has been just a wonderful experience. And I want to personally thank you for all that you do for the people of not just Northeast Oklahoma City. Ebenezer certainly is lucky to have you, but your vision is much greater than just a quadrant of Oklahoma City. The work you do impacts so many of us. And I'm grateful for the work you do. I'm proud of you for speaking truth to power in the column. So I'll be interested to follow along with your progress, and I'm sure we'll run into each other again real soon.
We will. Thank you so much, Scott.
Enjoy your weekend.
All right, you too.
Well, friends, that's our time for today and for this week. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, Alicia only talks for 8 or 9 minutes, and he went on for almost half an hour. I guess it's because I know this is my last chance to visit with you on live for a little while. But thank you for being here. I hope that you have a wonderful weekend. It's supposed to be just a gorgeous day tomorrow and Sunday in preparation for another major chill down next week. So enjoy the weekend. Take good care of yourself, and I'll see you real soon. Thanks for tuning in.